The product strategy is possibly the most important product management artifact, but despite its importance, it's not always effectively used. In this video, I'll discuss 10 common strategy mistakes I see people make so you can avoid them and take full advantage of the product strategy. I'm product management expert Roman Pichler, and I've written a book about product strategy called Strategize. The first and most crucial mistake is not to have a product strategy at all. When that's the case, a product is usually progressed based on the features requested by the users and stakeholders. But as there is no strategy, objectively assessing the impact of the requests is virtually impossible. Consequently, whoever shouts the loudest or has the biggest clout gets their features implemented. And this can result in a Frankenstein product, a product that has a horrible value proposition and offers an awful user experience instead of creating real value for the users in the business. Another mistake I see people make is to focus their product strategy on the portfolio or the feature level rather than the product. The strategy is therefore either too big or too narrow. While it can be beneficial to use a strategy that helps maximize the value a product portfolio creates, you should keep it distinct from individual product strategies. Take a productivity tool suite like Microsoft Office or Google Workspace. If I was in charge of such a portfolio, I would use an overall strategy for the entire suite and separate strategies for the individual tools like Microsoft PowerPoint and Google Slides. Using, however, a strategy that focuses on one or more features is not something I would advise. Having a strategy that covers, say, the ability to persist and retrieve slides is usually neither necessary nor helpful. Instead, it creates additional overhead as the feature strategies have to be updated and aligned. The third mistake is not providing all information required to effectively guide and align people. And to avoid this issue and ensure that your strategy is complete, answer the following 4 questions. First, who are the product's users and customers? Second, what is its value proposition? Why will people want to use it or pay for it? Third, what are the benefits the product should generate for the company developing and providing it? And fourth, what are its standout features, the capabilities that set it apart from competing offerings? And this question is particularly relevant for commercial revenue-generating products. A handy tool to capture your answers and describe the product strategy is my product vision board. You can download the template for free from my website, and you can find more information on how to use it in a separate video, which I've linked in the description below. The fourth mistake is to use a product strategy that is vague and coarse-grained. For example, the target group might be too big and too diverse, there might be too many needs stated, and they are too unspecific. The business goals might be unclear or the standout features might be weak. Such a strategy does not provide sufficient guidance and direction. If you struggle to make your strategy specific, then you might either lack the necessary knowledge or you might shy away from making tough decisions. In the first case, carry out just enough research so you can clearly state the target users and customers, the specific problem the product should address, the business impact it should achieve, and its 3 to 5 standout features. In the second case, bring to mind that making strategic decisions requires focus. It involves discarding ideas and declining requests. As Steve Jobs once said, innovation is saying no to 1,000 things. Mistake number 5 is to base a product strategy on intuition and past experience, the views of influential stakeholders, or the ideas of the CEO. Instead, it should be grounded in empirical evidence in order to avoid arguments and maximize the chances that the strategy will result in a successful product. A great way to achieve this is to create an initial sketchy strategy and then systematically validate and refine it following an iterative risk-driven approach. Start the process by selecting the biggest risk, the uncertainty that must be addressed now, so that you don't make the wrong decisions and you don't take your product down the wrong path. This might be the risk of addressing the wrong target group or the wrong need. Next, determine how you can best address this risk, for instance, by observing target users or interviewing customers or building a prototype. Carry out the necessary work and collect the relevant data, then analyze the results and use the insights to decide what to do. Ask yourself if you should stick with your strategy, significantly change it, which is also referred to as a pivot, or stop the innovation initiative. Now, if you decide to pivot, rework the strategy and restart the validation process. If you persevere with your strategy, update the plan and select the next key risk. Follow this process until your strategy no longer contains any significant risks and you have sufficient data to show that it is likely to result in a desirable, feasible, viable, and ethical product. Now, the ultimate purpose of a product strategy is to offer a successful product, a product that creates value for the users and customers and offers the right user experience and the right features. To achieve this, the strategy must direct product delivery. It must be connected to the product backlog and help determine which functionality is implemented. It's therefore a mistake to treat the product strategy in isolation and not connected to other plans, especially the product roadmap and the product backlog. In the worst case, a chasm between strategy and delivery exists. Strategic decisions are not translated into tactical ones, and insights from the delivery aren't used to evolve the product strategy. To avoid this, I recommend adopting a holistic approach and systematically linking your strategy, roadmap, and backlog. And you can achieve this by following my product strategy model, which I explain in more detail in the video that's linked in the description. Mistake number 7 is to view the product strategy as a fixed plan that simply has to be delivered rather than a fluid one that will change. As your product develops and grows and as the market and technologies evolve, you must adapt the product strategy. Otherwise, it won't be any longer a valid forward-looking plan that offers effective guidance. You should therefore take the necessary time to regularly inspect and adapt the strategy at least once every 3 months as a rule of thumb. Asking the following 4 questions will help you with this. First, what do the key performance indicators or KPIs tell you about the value your product is creating? Second, are there any new technology, regulatory, or social developments that you should respond to? Third, is your product still sufficiently differentiated? Does it offer a clear reason for people to choose it over alternatives? And fourth, are there any significant changes in your business that affect the product strategy? Now, the most amazing product strategy is useless if people don't buy into it and follow it. It's therefore a mistake not to secure the support of the key stakeholders and development team members. To avoid this issue, generate the necessary buy-in by involving the individuals in the strategizing work. And a great way to achieve this is using collaborative workshops and choosing a decision rule, such as unanimous agreement or consent. This does not only increase the chances that people will support the strategy, it also allows you to leverage their expertise to make the right decisions. And you can learn more about this topic by watching my video on decision rules. The link is in the description. Mistake number 9 is a lack of effective ownership. It's not uncommon in my experience that the head of product, also known as Director of Product Management, VP of Product, or Chief Product Officer, owns the product strategy and has the final say on strategic decisions. While this can be an effective temporary fix, I regard it as a mistake when it becomes a permanent solution. Instead of the head of product, the people developing and providing the product team, should collaboratively create, validate, and update the strategy, and the person in charge of the product manager or Scrum product owner, should be empowered to have the final say if no agreement can be reached. The final mistake I see people make is to believe that there is one right way to create and evolve a product strategy. Now, I freely admit that I'm biased. I've developed my own strategy approach. But the point is not to blindly follow a process or implement a specific tool, but to determine if and why a product should be offered and how it can create tangible value for the users and the business. If my product strategy model and the product vision board resonate with you, then that's great. Go ahead and use them. But if you prefer to use a different approach like impact mapping, then that's also great. I think it's wonderful to have different options to choose from, depending on what works best for your product and your organization. Now, I hope you found this video helpful. You can learn more about effectively working with a product strategy by attending my training courses and by reading my book, Strategize. Thank you for watching.